Assalamualaikum and hi, I'm Hafiz, and for this video, my group will explain about radioimmunoassay. First, what is radioimmunoassay? Radioimmunoassay is a technique in which a radioisotope is used as a tag or label for the detection of antigen-antibody complex. Basically, it is to determine the concentration of antigen. In this case, antigen can be anything. Antigen can be hormone, antigen can be serum protein, antigen can be drug, and antigen also can be vitamin. This technique was developed in 1959 by endocrinologists Rosalind Yalow and Solomon Burson. So, for this video, we will explain about the principle in radioimmunoassay, the labels in radioimmunoassay, example of tests in radioimmunoassay, and the last is the advantage and disadvantage of radioimmunoassay. So now, let's move to the principle of radioimmunoassay.
Radioimmunoassay technique is used to determine the concentration of antigen. So, what is the principle behind this technique? Let's say, for example, we have a sample. We want to determine the concentration of antigen in the sample. The antigen in the sample, let's call it antigen A. Now, in order to determine the concentration of antigen A, we will require three things. First, we will need anti-A monoclonal antibodies. And then we will need radiolabeled antigen A. And we will need unlabeled antigen A. Antigen A in this case is used because we want to determine the concentration of antigen A. If we want to determine the concentration of antigen B, we will use B. All of this. So now we will prepare a microtiter. The microtiter will then be coated with anti-A monoclonal antibodies. Alright, then we will add in radiolabeled antigen A in excess to the microtiter. Also, let's assume since all of the anti-A monoclonal antibodies in this microtiter has been bound by radiolabeled antigen A, let's assume the radioactivity percentage here is 100%. Why is it radioactivity percentage? Because these antigen A radiolabeled have radioisotopes in them, so they emit radiation. Since all of this is radiolabeled antigen A and there are no unlabeled antigen A in this, we will now graph in 0 antigen A there. So the concept here is, what if we add 1 nanogram of unlabeled antigen A into this? First, let's watch this. Remove the excess radiolabeled antigen A. So what if we add in 1 nanogram of antigen A into this? There will be competition between these two different antigen A for the blind spots on the antibodies. Since we only added 1 nanogram, there will be less competition sufficient and only a small amount of radio-labeled antigen A will be unbound, being replaced by antigen A, unlabeled antigen A. So here it means there will be a decrease in radioactivity level because some radio-labeled antigen A will be replaced by unlabeled antigen A. And the decrease in radioactivity percentage of radio-labeled antigen A when added with unlabeled antigen A can be graphed by continuously increasing the concentration of antigen A added into the microtiter. Let's assume we have added 1 nanogram of antigen A. The radioactivity percentage has decreased to 90%. So we will now repeat the process by increasing the unlabeled antigen A added. So let's say we add 2, 3, 4, and so the radioactivity percentage will continue to go down based on the amount of antigen A added. So from this data, we can now then create a graph. Now with this graph, we can now determine the concentration of antigen A in the sample that we have. So we will now repeat the same steps, but instead of adding antigen A, we will now add in the serum instead. So this is a new microtiter. Now we add in the serum. So the antigen A in the serum will now compete with the radio-labeled antigen A in the microtiter, which will result in the decrease of radioactivity percentage. Since we already have the graph, we can now determine the concentration. Let's say the serum added has decreased the radioactivity percentage to 60%. So from 60%, we just need to plot the graph. And now we have the conclusion, which is the serum contains 6 nanogram of antigen A. So that is the principle of radioimmunoassay.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today I will explain to you about what labels are used in radioimmunoassay. In immunoassay, a variety of labels are used in order to allow the detection of antibodies and antigens. For example, the label used in immunoassay are isotopes, enzyme, and fluorophores. Radioimmunoassay use an isotope as a label. The isotope used in radioimmunoassay is iodine, such as iodine-125, iodine-131, and also tritium. But the main isotope that used in radioimmunoassay is iodine-125. Iodine-125 is a type of radioisotope which is commonly used in biological assay, nuclear medicine imaging, and also in radiation therapy. That's all about labels in radioimmunoassay.
Radioisotope test or RAS is an example of radioimmunoassay test. It is a blood test used to determine to what substance a person is allergic. It also a test that is different from the skin allergy test, which determines allergy by the reaction of a person's skin to different substance. Both of these tests have similar diagnostic values in terms of sensitivity and specificity.
type of test that uses radioimmunoassay. The test is called radioallergosorbent test, which is RAST. Now let's jump into the advantages of RAST, shall we? Firstly, it has an excellent reproducibility across the full measuring range of the calibration curve. Secondly, it has a very high specificity as it only binds to allergen-specific immunoglobulin E. Thirdly, RAST also is extremely sensitive too when compared with skin prick testing. In general, this method of blood testing and skin pricking tests has its own advantages. For instance, it is not always necessary to remove the patient from an antihistamine medication regimen, and if the patient has severe skin conditions such as eczema that allergy skin testing cannot be done, allergy blood tests are performed without procedure variations, and the results are of excellent standardization. However, as we know, everything has its own drawbacks. First, compared to skin testing, other RAST techniques is very time-consuming and takes longer time to perform. This will also lead to our next drawback, which is less cost-effective. As we speak, longer time means lower effectiveness. Next, several studies have also found these tests to be less sensitive than skin testing for the detection of clinically relevant allergies. And finally, false positive results can be obtained due to cross-reactivity of homologous proteins or by cross-reactive carbohydrate determinants. Well, that's all from me. Moving on to the next point.
To conclude, the radioimmunoassay technique is indeed a good technique in terms of specificity and accuracy. Even so, the use of RIA in laboratories has declined, primarily because of the concerns of the safe handling and disposal of radioactive materials. We hope that further developments and researches on immunoassay techniques will be carried out for the betterment of humanity and the world.